Pablo Escobar, a name that sends chills down the spine of anyone, also a name that left behind a not-so-desirable legacy. Call him the Medellín drug lord, the twisted version of Robin Hood, or the criminal mastermind of his time. Escobar left behind a legacy far more sinister than mere wealth. But as the saying goes, you can kill a man, but you can't kill the diseases he already spread: greed, addiction, and violence. And that's what keeps his huge drug empire alive and keeping it active even today, 3 decades after his death. The pressing question is, who inherited Pablo Escobar's drug empire, and how do these drug cartels continue to operate with such resilience? In the aftermath of Escobar's death in 1993, many of the high-ranking members and partners of his drug empire were in prison. Some met their end within prison walls, while others survived their incarcerations, choosing to abandon their lives of crime, or so it seemed. Let's delve into the lives of the most powerful members of the cartel, the ruthless sicarios who worked hand in hand with Escobar and his family, to uncover who truly controls Medellín today. Juan Diego Arias Henao, aka El Tomate. Juan Diego Arias Henao, infamously known as El Tomate, or the Tomato, due to his ruddy complexion, was one of Escobar's closest allies. Arrested in 1992, Juan spent 14 years behind bars, a significant portion of which was spent planning his next moves from within the prison walls. His determination to escape the confines of the law led him to break free in 2006, seeking refuge in Venezuela. However, his newfound freedom was short-lived. Just a year later, in April 2007, El Tomate was mercilessly gunned down in his car, a stark reminder that the legacy of Escobar's empire comes with its own perils. John Jairo Velázquez, aka Popeye or JJ. John Jairo Velázquez, better known as Popeye or JJ, was another critical figure within the Medellín Cartel. As a Colombian hitman, Velázquez's reputation was built on fear and brutality. Arrested in 1992, he spent over 2 decades in prison, where he confessed to a staggering number of crimes. His admissions included several high-profile kidnappings, targeting prominent political figures in Colombia. Velázquez didn't stop there. He also claimed responsibility for the deaths of 257 individuals and orchestrated around 3,000 killings. Despite his lengthy incarceration, his troubles were far from over. In 2018, Velázquez was arrested once more on extortion charges, ultimately meeting his end in prison in 2020. Denis Muñoz Mosquera, aka La Kika. Denis Muñoz Mosquera, known as La Kika, played a pivotal role as the chief assassin of the Medellín Cartel. His reputation was built on a trail of blood, having killed hundreds, including 40 policemen and numerous government officials. Captured in 1991, La Kika now serves multiple consecutive life sentences in a U.S. prison. His incarceration effectively removed one of the cartel's most feared enforcers from the equation, yet his legacy of violence continues to echo through the annals of Colombia's criminal history. With key sicarios like El Tomate, Popeye, and La Kika behind bars, it might seem that the Medellín Cartel's days are numbered. However, the intricate web of alliances and partnerships within the cartel suggests otherwise. Allies and business partners, the remaining pieces of the puzzle. While many of Escobar's close associates are either incarcerated or deceased, the cartel's intricate network includes various allies and business partners who played significant roles in its operations. Understanding these relationships is crucial to comprehending who might have inherited the remnants of Escobar's empire. Carlos Leder. Carlos Enrique Leder Rivas was not just a co-founder of the Medellín Cartel alongside Escobar, he was also a visionary in expanding its operations. Leder was instrumental in establishing connections that extended the cartel's reach beyond Colombia, primarily into the lucrative markets of the United States. Before his foray into the cocaine business, Later was involved in selling stolen cars and marijuana, which provided the financial groundwork for his later ventures. Later's radical military-like behavior reportedly put him at odds with other cartel members. According to a theory supported by Popeye, members of the Medellín Cartel grew wary of Later's methods, fearing that his aggressive tactics could jeopardize their cocaine trade. This internal strife led Escobar to turn against Later, providing the authorities with his whereabouts and facilitating his capture in 1987. Later became the first leader of the Medellín Cartel to be extradited to the United States, where he faced a life sentence alongside 135 years in jail. However, his sentence was later reduced to 33 years after he agreed to cooperate with authorities. Today, Later lives in Germany, cared for by a German charity following a cancer diagnosis, a stark contrast to his days orchestrating one of the most feared drug empires in history. José Gonzalo Rodríguez Gacha, aka El Mexicano. José Gonzalo Rodríguez Gacha, known as El Mexicano, was a formidable force within the Medellín Cartel. Moving to Medellín in the late 1970s, Rodríguez formed strategic alliances with the Ochoa family, Pablo Escobar, and Carlos Later to solidify the cartel's dominance. His keen business acumen led to the discovery of new trafficking routes through Mexico into the United States, particularly targeting major cities like Los Angeles, California, and Houston, Texas. El Mexicano's reign was marked by extreme violence. He was charged in both Colombia and the United States for numerous killings, including the assassination of Jaime Pardo Leal, the president of the leftist Patriotic Union Party, on October 12, 1987. Rodriguez's brutality didn't stop there. He orchestrated the massacre of 12 judicial officials in an attempt to erase any records of their drug business activities. Furthermore, in collaboration with Escobar, he hired trained hitmen, including Yair Klein, to assassinate presidential candidate Luis Carlos Galán on August 18, 1989. A move aimed at eliminating a significant political threat poised to dismantle the cartel. Despite his initial influence, Rodriguez's role in the cartel began to wane as the government intensified its efforts to dismantle the drug trade. In 1989, amidst a relentless police chase, El Mexicano was gunned down while attempting to escape, marking the end of his direct influence within the Medellín Cartel. The Ochoa brothers, Jorge, Juan, and Fabio Ochoa. The Ochoa brothers, Jorge, Luis, Juan David, and Fabio, were integral to the formation and operation of the Medellín Cartel. Their involvement spanned from the cartel's inception, providing the necessary infrastructure and strategic planning that fueled its growth. Jorge Luis Ochoa Vázquez. In September 1990, Colombian President Cesar Gaviria introduced a plan offering reduced sentences to drug traffickers willing to surrender. This strategy proved effective, leading to the surrender of Jorge Luis Ochoa Vázquez in January 1991. Jorge's cooperation with authorities earned him a relatively lenient sentence, and he was released in July 1996 after serving just 5.5 years in prison. Today, Jorge resides in Medellín, adamantly claiming to have severed all ties with the drug trade. Despite his professed repentance, allegations suggest that Jorge managed to retain a significant portion of his wealth, raising questions about the true extent of his disengagement from illegal activities. Juan David Ochoa Vázquez. Jorge's elder brother, Juan David Ochoa Vázquez, also surrendered in 1991 alongside Jorge. Like his brother, Juan received a modest 5-year sentence and was released in 1996. Unlike Jorge, Juan's life took a tragic turn when he succumbed to a heart attack in July 2013, cutting short any potential resurgence of his influence within or beyond the remnants of the Medellín Cartel. Fabio Ochoa Vázquez. Fabio Ochoa Vázquez, the youngest of the trio, took a different path compared to his brothers. Unlike Jorge and Juan, Fabio couldn't relinquish his ties to the drug trafficking world. His inability to fully abandon the lucrative drug trade led him to continue providing expertise to trafficking networks and accepting payments for cocaine shipments. This defiance resulted in his rearrest in 1999 and subsequent extradition to the United States in September 2001. In 2003, Fabio was sentenced to 30 years in prison for drug trafficking and cocaine distribution in the U.S., cementing his legacy as one of the last active members of the original Medellín Cartel leadership. With the arrests and incarcerations of key figures like Fabio, one might assume that the Medellín Cartel's dominance was irreparably weakened. However, the question persists. If these sicarios and former business partners didn't seize control of the drug trade post-Medellín, who did? The answer lies within the family ties and strategic maneuvering of Escobar's kin. Roberto de Jesus Escobar Gaviria, a.k.a. El Osito. Roberto de Jesus Escobar Gaviria, Pablo Escobar's brother, played a crucial role in the operational and financial aspects of the Medellín Cartel. As a co-founder, Roberto managed the cartel's finances and accounts, ensuring the smooth flow of money that underpinned the empire's vast operations. Following Escobar's death, Roberto served a 13-year prison term from 1993 to 2006. While it appeared that he had stepped away from the drug trade upon his release, Roberto's activities suggest otherwise. In 2014, Roberto re-established Escobar Inc. in California, USA, registering successor in interest rights for his late brother. This company, registered in Puerto Rico, is involved in various fraudulent schemes, including the production of Escobar-branded smartphones and flamethrowers. These products, though never reaching customers, symbolize Roberto's continued engagement in illicit activities, leveraging his family's notorious name to perpetrate scams. It seems Roberto may have changed his field of work, but his scummy intentions remain unchanged, indicating that the shadow of the Medellín Cartel still looms large. Maria Victoria Henao and Escobar's children, breaking the cycle. Maria Victoria. Henao, Pablo Escobar's wife, and their two children, Juan Pablo and Manuela, represent a different facet of Escobar's legacy. Maria married Escobar in 1976 when she was just 15 and he was 26. Despite Escobar's numerous affairs and infidelities, Maria remained married to him until his death. She publicly stated that she initially had no idea about her husband's role as the leader of the Medellín Cartel. Upon discovering the truth, she did not support or encourage his illicit activities. Instead, she was deeply pained by his actions. After Escobar's death, Maria and her children fled Colombia, seeking refuge in countries like Germany and Mozambique, but were denied asylum. They eventually settled in Buenos Aires, Argentina. In 1999, Maria and her son, Juan Pablo, were arrested on suspicion of money laundering. However, authorities found no concrete evidence linking them to Escobar's criminal enterprises, leading to their release after 18 months. In a 2018 interview with Colombia's W Radio, Maria Victoria publicly apologized for her late husband's wrongdoings, distancing herself and her children from the atrocities committed by Escobar. Juan Pablo, seeking to distance himself further, changed his name to Sebastián Marroquín and authored a book titled Pablo Escobar, My Father in 2014. In this memoir, he portrays Escobar as a ruthless criminal, yet acknowledges the complexity of their father-son relationship. describing him as a loving father despite his heinous actions. Manuela, Escobar's daughter, has maintained a low profile, striving to lead a normal life free from the shadows of her father's legacy. Other Escobar siblings. Beyond Roberto, Maria Victoria, Juan Pablo, and Manuela, Pablo Escobar had several other siblings: Luis Fernando Escobar Gaviria, Alba Escobar Gaviria, Gloria Inés Escobar Gaviria, Argiro Escobar Gaviria, and Luz Maria Escobar Gaviria. Unlike Roberto, little is publicly known about their involvement or stance regarding the family's criminal legacy. It appears that most of Escobar's siblings have chosen to stay out of the limelight to save their lives and reputations. The Medellín Cartel's decline and the rise of new cartels. As evident, the Medellín Cartel gradually disintegrated following Pablo Escobar's death in 1993. Other powerful cartels, such as the Cali Cartel and the Norte del Valle Cartel, emerged to fill the void left by Medellín. These new organizations continued the drug trade in Colombia, albeit with different operational styles and leadership structures. However, none achieved the same infamy or operational scale as Escobar's empire. The fall of Medellín did not signify the end of the drug trade in Colombia. Rather, it marked a transition to new power players within the narcotics landscape. Escobar's family, particularly his immediate relatives, have made it clear that they wish to distance themselves from the business that brought both immense wealth and unimaginable pain. They seek to rebuild their lives away from the shadows of crime, hoping to leave behind the legacy that Escobar's name still evokes. The New Boys, La Oficina de Envigado. Despite the dismantling of the Medellín Cartel, the drug trade in Colombia did not come to a halt. Instead, it evolved, becoming more decentralized and less conspicuous. One of the significant remnants of Escobar's empire is La Oficina de Envigado, established as a collections arm of the original Medellín Cartel. This organization continues to operate, albeit with a different focus, providing services to low-level drug traffickers and various groups involved in the narcotics trade. La Oficina de Envigado operates primarily in the cities of Medellín and Envigado, positioning itself as the chief mediator and debt collector for disputes related to drug trafficking in Colombia. Interestingly, it maintains a robust connection with the Colombian government, navigating the complex landscape of legal and illegal operations to sustain its influence. This relationship underscores the intricate balance between law enforcement and the criminal underworld, where alliances and power dynamics are perpetually shifting. The evolution of narco-trafficking, from open violence to stealth operations. At first glance, the activities of La Oficina de Envigado might suggest a reduction in the scale of the drug trade. However, the reality is far more nuanced. Narco-trafficking hasn't diminished. Instead, it has transformed, adopting more stealthy and less overtly violent methods than those employed during Escobar's reign. Javier Peña, a U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration agent who worked on both the Escobar and Cali Cartel cases, encapsulates this evolution in a statement he made during the Cypher Brief podcast. "We're taking down cartels, and another cartel is born. And what we tell people is as long as there's demand for this nasty type of drugs that are out there, there's going to be people that are going to take a chance in sending their dope to make a quick dollar." This relentless cycle highlights the adaptability and resilience of drug traffickers. They have shed the large, easily traceable labs of the past, opting instead for smaller, decentralized operations that are harder to detect. These new labs often operate out of residential properties in Medellín, blending into the fabric of everyday life. Additionally, they exploit natural cover such as mangrove swamps in small Colombian ports, which serve as the perfect hideouts for constructing sophisticated multi-million-dollar cocaine submarines. The end game. Millions and billions versus millions of lives. The stakes in this high-stakes game are astronomically high. On one side are the millions and billions of dollars amassed through the illicit drug trade, fueling the ambitions and lifestyles of the cartel's leadership. On the other side are the millions of lives destroyed by addiction, violence, and the societal decay that drugs propagate. The true cost of this empire is not measured in dollars, but in the shattered lives and communities left in its wake. The legacy of Pablo Escobar serves as a grim reminder that while individual leaders may fall, the underlying issues of demand and supply in the drug trade remain unresolved. And as we always say, if you find this video interesting, please like and subscribe for more fascinating stories just like this.